Hey everyone, welcome back to The Mean Show. Today's episode is featuring Nina Lorez Collins, who is the new Chief Executive Officer for Hello Revel, an event and community platform for women over 40. She's also the founder of the Woolfer, which Revel acquired earlier this year, just about a month ago or so. Her passion for the lives of women in this demographic came to life in 2015 when she started a closed Facebook group called What Would Virginia Woolf Do? Her book, What Would Virginia Woolf Do? And Other Questions I Ask Myself as I Attempt to Age Without Apology, was published in April of 2018. I have read almost all of it, and I highly recommend it. It talks about everything from sex to fashion to um, hormones, weight gain, um, everything that becomes very different as we age, which you don't know until you know. I'm finding the book extremely helpful. And I love the title because as we talk about in the podcast, aging without apology really resonates for me because, and I think it resonates probably for most women who have the privilege of becoming 50-ish years old. You kind of feel bad about it. Like you should apologize for your presence because, I think it stems from just society not really valuing us. But I think that's changing, and that it's clear that it's changing because Hello Revel was founded by two women in their 30s who saw the value in women who are our age, 40s and 50s. So clearly something is changing and it's very exciting. But back to Nina. She is a graduate of Barnard College. She has a master's degree from Columbia in the field of narrative medicine. And I'm so mad I forgot to ask her what is narrative medicine. So I will investigate and include that in the show notes. Maybe I'll even email her and ask her. Um, she has a long professional background in book publishing, both as a literary scout and then as an agent. She has four grown children and divides her time between Brooklyn and Springs, New York. Nina serves as a trustee of the Brooklyn Public Library and board member of the publishing house Spiegel and Grau. In addition to her work at the Woolfer, she manages the literary estate of her late mother, the filmmaker and writer Kathleen Collins. And I will provide links to some information about Kathleen in the show notes as well, because she's a fascinating figure. We didn't get to talk about her in the podcast, but maybe for another episode, because she's a really amazing writer who did not get credit for being an amazing writer until she had passed. So anyway, without further ado, on to our episode featuring Nina Lorez Collins. Hello, and welcome back to The Mean Show. Nina, welcome. I am so excited to have you on the show.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. I love the
Right.
name of your show. It makes me want to interview you and find out why you call it the Mean Podcast.
Thank you. Well, I like the alliteration of it. First of all, I'm kind of like a sucker for alliteration. I know some people hate alliteration, but I am the opposite. And I just like that it is sort of like a nasty woman reference almost,
Yeah.
like and I just like the way it sounded, and I'm one of those people who my whole life I've tried to be nice and like please everybody and be the opposite. So it's sort of like a taking
Yeah. Now it's like, fuck that. I'm old school.
yes.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah, like
That's
and
what I thought. That's what it sounded like. So that's
oh
cool.
good. Good. Yeah, I mean not that I want to be mean to anyone. I don't want to be mean, but it's like, sometimes I'm not maybe going to be nice and I have to be okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I think
yeah.
that's great.
But I'm so excited to have you on. You founded the Wolfers, and what year did you found that group?
So I started the community in 2015, in the fall of 2015, and I started it as a closed Facebook group, which I called What Would Virginia Woolf Do? And it was really not meant to be a business. It was like me and my closest girlfriends. I basically wanted to create a space to talk about aging in a kind of funny, candid, honest, self-deprecating and silly way. And I invited about 40 friends, and I called it What Would Virginia Woolf Do? Because at the time I was in a graduate program and I was reading a lot of Virginia Woolf. And of course, Virginia Woolf is a famous feminist. And most of my friends, if not all of my friends, I would say consider themselves feminists. And a lot of my friends are writers. So it was kind of like an inside joke, kind of basically, should we just kill ourselves? Should we walk into the river with stones in our pockets? Which is what Virginia Woolf did. It was just a joke about aging. Virginia Woolf died in her 50s. I feel bad now because, of course, we weren't trying to make light of suicide, and it was just a silly joke. And anyway, then the community grew, and the women started calling themselves Woolfers, and we ended up changing the name of the company after a few years to the Woolfer when we built our own app and left Facebook.
Nice. So did I call it the Wolfers? Sorry, the Wolfer. Sorry
It's
about that.
fine. No, they are Woolfers. It's completely fine. But yeah, the company is
Okay.
called the Woolfer.
Okay, nice. So I'm so curious how that I had heard of Revel. It had come across my radar a few times, and I was really excited that something like that had been created. And so I'm very curious how the two came together and how did this acquisition come to be?
Yeah, it's a great story. I'm so pleased. So the Woolfer and What Would Virginia Woolf Do started in Brooklyn, right? That's where I'm from. And we've been doing it for whatever, 6 years. So a few years on Facebook, then a few years on our own app. And I basically started to realize in the last year or so that if I wanted it to grow, we had about 4,000 paid members. We became a subscriber. It was $35 a year, and an email list of around 25,000 women. But I realized if I wanted it to grow, I really needed more resources. It's just been me and one full time assistant. So I thought I need either VC money or I need someone to buy me. And I've always been an entrepreneur. I've had two other businesses in my life. And I'm 52 and really didn't want to go the VC route particularly. Spoke to some people. Anyway, I was kind of on the fence about it, a little bit ambivalent. And then around 9 months ago, out of the blue, I got an offer to buy the Woolfer kind of out of nowhere from a big European media company. And it completely surprised me. And
Wow.
I was kind of thrilled. They offered like a good amount of money and they wanted me to do this job that I didn't entirely understand. It was very, very corporate. But I was like, this sounds fun. And then that deal fell apart. And it was really interesting. After that happened, you know how all things like when you don't get an apartment you want or you don't get a guy you want, and you think it's the end of the world, and then you realize it just opens up all this possibility. That offer made me realize that I could probably find someone else who wanted to buy us, and that it was probably time to make a decision one way or the other about the company to take it to the next level. So I basically started having calls and conversations with kind of everyone in what is now a fairly robust menopause field. Like when I started the community in 2015, there really were not products and communities and people talking about menopause in the way we are now. It was very quiet. I mean, it's why I started the community. I needed a place to talk about aging. But now there are lots of companies. So I started having calls with all the telemed companies and other communities. And I met an investor in New York who was potentially interested in investing or buying me with someone else. So anyway, I just kind of went down this road and I honestly feel like I kind of manifested it. In one of my many conversations, I met the women at Revel and I instantly felt like they were the right people. And I actually said to them in our first phone call, which was ostensibly just about partnering in some way, I said, I think you guys should buy us. And they kind of laughed. And then I sent them an email a couple days later and I was like, I actually really do think you should buy us. I think we complement each other really, really well. Because they had started a year and a half ago in San Francisco. They're two young, really smart young women who went to Harvard Business School. And they basically had built a tech company. The concept is essentially like a meetup, and it was a meetup for women over 50. Really great idea, really good tech. They had VC money with very smart VC people who everyone told me were really highly regarded. But what they didn't have were an East Coast presence. They didn't have any content, which we've spent 6 years building up. They didn't have kind of at the top level of the company a real person who was speaking to the demographic. And they didn't have things like a podcast. So it seemed like a really good match. And we're 40 and up and they were 50 and up. So one of our negotiating things was, would they go down to 40, which they agreed to do.
Mm.
And,
Oh, interesting.
and I started doing some events with them, and I really felt like their community was quite like-minded to us. I think not quite perhaps as candid and provocative as the Woolfers are. But what I said to Lisa and Alexa is, I'm sure revelers want to talk about the same things we talk about. They just haven't been encouraged to. um,
Totally. Yeah.
totally what I'm finding. So that's really how it happened. We spent a few months kind of negotiating, and we closed at the end of July. And I'm now the chief creative officer of the blended entity, and really just loving it. I think it's going to be very exciting.
That sounds very exciting. I'm just so thrilled anytime I hear something like this exists because women, which is why I started what I'm doing, women over 40, over 50 are mostly, well, have traditionally been mostly ignored in media
Yeah.
and online in general. And but are you finding that that is really changing? I feel like right now it's really changing. Like there's a lot more for us right now.
Yeah, it is really changing. In fact, I think the moment I really noticed it was it the Academy Awards 2 years ago? There was an Academy, I guess it was right pre-COVID. There was an Academy Awards, and it seemed like everyone on stage all the time was a 50 plus woman, like just a fabulous
Yeah.
woman. And I was like, oh, this is really awesome representation. Um, and now there are a lot of products aimed at us, at least in the kind of femtech kind of health world, right? There's a company called Woman S that's just launched a line at Target. There are all sorts of products. Kindra, aimed at vaginal dryness and sleep issues and hot flashes. And I feel like it may have also started a little, when the first period panties came out, remember Thinx?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
That was probably 5 years ago, Thinx, and they had the best
Mhm.
advertising. And it was the first time I thought people were talking about menstruation in a really kind of straightforward, stylized, kind of hip way. And I feel a little
Mhm.
bit like that was the beginning of this ushering in of talking about female reality at different stages in a more open way. So I think we have a long way to go, but yes, I do think it's changing.
Yeah, I'm finding that too. And I love the title of your book. I love, what would Virginia Woolf do? And other questions I ask myself as I attempt to age without apology. And that last part, without apology, really resonated for me because, like I was saying to you before, I can't remember if we were recording or not about Me and Magazine. I think I was. But that, as I age, I almost feel like, I don't know, I'm like letting people down by like getting wrinkles or like, like I'm supposed to be this certain person and I'm like transforming into this other person. And it's like, and I worry about what other people think about it, which when I
Yeah.
really think about it is ridiculous. But so I'm curious how you came up with that without apology part of it, and what does that sort of mean to you
Yeah.
to age
No, I mean,
without apology?
I love that you can say that because it's really true. In fact, I was thinking that this morning about myself. I've been on Weight Watchers trying to lose some of the COVID weight, and I've lost like
Uh-huh.
5 or 6 pounds, but now I'm really stalled. And I keep thinking, like, who am I doing this for exactly? Like, why do I feel
Yeah.
this need? So, Aging Without Apology, it came very naturally as a subtitle because once I started the community, What Would Virginia Woolf Do? I realized one of the biggest issues we were dealing with was this issue of shame, of kind of, why are we feeling ashamed of getting older? We should be feeling super proud of ourselves for all that we've accomplished and that we've survived this far and learned so much and done so well. And instead, there is this feeling in the culture that it's not embarrassing for men to age, but it is embarrassing for women to age.
Yeah.
Um, I think only we can really change that. Like if we change that for ourselves, we'll be able to model it for younger women. So yeah, the idea is, how do I age without apology? How do I age kind of with pride and some people hate the term aging gracefully, like Stacey London, who's running now this company called State of Menopause, does not like the term aging gracefully. She finds it insulting. I don't mind it because I like the word grace. Like I want to age happily, well. I want to feel good about myself as I age. I don't want to feel apologetic. I don't want to feel embarrassed by wrinkles or back fat or any of the myriad symptoms that happen. Um, Nor should I. I think that's the thing that really gets me, is the whole kind of patriarchal aspect of it, that we talk about feeling invisible, and we aren't and shouldn't be, and that's society telling us that we're invisible, and we're not invisible. um
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah. And invisibility has its perks sometimes
It
too.
does.
It's I find
It does.
I you know?
Yeah, it's
So I don't mind it that much sometimes.
no, I do. I have to say, one of the things I love about getting a little older now is like I really don't care what I look like when I leave the house.
Yeah.
If I feel
I
like
was
looking
reading your
good,
pajamas at the store section of that. I think that's in the beginning of the book.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I like that. Like, yeah, I just don't worry about any of that stuff anymore. That kind of young woman performative stuff at all, which
Yeah.
is great. So I agree with you. There are perks to being invisible, and if you want to feel invisible, great. And I've had lots of women in our community talk about how they felt like they got a lot of unwanted attention when they were young, and they're thrilled to not
Yeah.
get it anymore. They just don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel that way personally. I mean, it's just sometimes that, if you walk down the street and you feel unnoticed, it can be like if sometimes someone can like even like bump into you and
Mhm.
not even like acknowledge it, and I'm like, was that person just rude or am I that invisible? So
Mhm.
sometimes it can be, it makes you think twice, but yeah, it
But
goes
it's
both ways,
freeing,
I think.
right? There's a real. I
Yeah.
mean, I think overall one of the great secrets joys about aging for men and women is that it's just very freeing, right? Like,
Yes.
not having kids at home anymore if you chose to have children, not getting to a certain place in your career. I mean, look, not everyone is free. There's obviously a lot of privilege invoked in the concept of freedom, but it is freeing psychologically and in many ways logistically getting older. I suppose until we get
Yeah.
much older when we're in a home and needing more help. But in any case, right now it feels pretty freeing.
Yes. Yeah, because as long as if you're healthy
Mhm.
and you're in a good place, there's no reason to be ashamed or, it just seems crazy when you really think about it because you do have more freedom than you probably ever
Yeah.
have in many circumstances.
And you're
So
generally
embrace it.
yeah, and generally I'm so much healthier than I ever was.
Mm,
Psychologically, I just feel I I see this also with the women in the community. I mean, it's one of the things that I think has the whole experience of creating the Woolfer has been super empowering for me because I've been really inspired by all these women who have so much wisdom. They know so much. They know they have so many resources, and we get so much
yeah,
information from each other. We post about things like health issues or challenges with children or challenges caretaking or sexual issues. We talk about everything in the community, and we get great advice from each other. The women, like, we know a lot at this point in our lives.
absolutely. Yes. Yeah. I'm curious to talk a little bit more about your the Weight Watchers experience and like wondering who am I doing this for? And I'm in a place right now where I gained 15 pounds during COVID, and I had already gained weight before that just because of menopause and
Yeah,
to be honest, like not exercising enough and probably eating not great and drinking too much.
yeah,
But
you know that well.
but all of that. But I am right now I'm at this place where I'm like, do I want to really double down on losing weight and like trying to lose weight and changing my habits and all of that? Or do I want to buy a whole new wardrobe? Because
Right.
a lot of my motivation is I want to fit in my clothes that I love because I'm sort of I'm into fashion. I love a lot of my clothes and I can't wear them right now. So
I know.
what are your thoughts on that?
Like everyone, probably really have two minds about this, and I go in and out. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
5'6.5", and for me, like a skinny weight, like really, I was 128 when I got married. If I was between 135 and 140, I would feel like a supermodel.
Yeah.
During COVID, I crept up to like 155. So a lot of the time, I didn't really care. Like, I feel like I look good, I'm healthy, I exercise, but I did have to buy some larger clothes. And I can often go like that for months and months at a time where I'm like, it doesn't matter. I'm 52 years old. I feel good. As long as I'm not like an unhealthy weight, it's all fine. Then suddenly I'll turn a corner and I'll say, you know what? I really want to be a little thinner. It's better for my health. I worry about like long-term heart health. I want to be, really flexible and nubile and all those things. So I'll get like kind of on a. So that happened to me a couple months ago, and I decided I'm going to go on Weight Watchers. Weight Watchers works. I'm on the purple plan. I started at the beginning of June, and I guess I've lost actually probably like 8 pounds. I'm down to 147. And I have to say, I feel great. Like, I feel better. I feel better naked. I feel better in my
Mhm.
clothes. Everything is a little loose again. It feels really nice. So I don't know. I'd kind of like to lose 5 more pounds. I think I would feel and look great. I seem to be plateauing. It's not happening. Is that menopause? I don't really know. I guess I feel like do what makes you feel good. I mean, we should
Yeah.
all try and really be healthy. That is definitely real, right? Like as we get older, the more flexible and I think it's important to be able to sit on the floor as you get older and get up off of the floor and balance and do things. I bought a standing desk so I can stand a lot during the day. Like I am so it's in that moment of evolution where it's a little bit between vanity and health at this point. Like no one really
Mhm.
cares what I look like. They just don't. So whether I'm 5 pounds heavier or 10 pounds heavier, I really don't think anyone cares. But I want to feel good, and I also want to be healthy.
Yeah. I I don't think that many people care what I look like either, except for my mother-in-law.
Oh, that's totally rude.
No, it was I mean, she says it with love, theoretically, but, she said to me, she said, "Honey," she's from Iran, my husband's from Iran, so
Mhm.
she says it with a very thick Iranian accent. She says, "Honey, some women, when they go in menopause, they lose weight. Some women gain weight. I think you're the second one." And
Oh
I
my
was
god, that
like
is so rude. And
I'm like,
it's
"Thanks
not even your
thanks
own
for the news
mother.
alert." I
I'm trying to think, is it worse as if it's your mother-in-law or if it's your mother who says that? I guess it's a different kind of bad.
Yeah, I mean, my mother always thought I was, like, the skinniest thing ever no matter what. Like, she was one of those moms who was like, you're so skinny, you're gonna blow away," even if I had just gained 10 pounds, right? Like, she was always thought but yeah, but mother-in-law is a different story, but it's just, you have to take it with a grain of salt. It's a different
I mean,
culture
yeah,
and
I really think you have to come down to how do you feel about it? Like, not
yeah,
how does your husband feel about it? How do you like I it's been motivating for me this summer to feel just like better in a whatever. I just feel good, but I have to say, most likely, because this is the way diets work, I'll go back up again, at some point in the not too distant future. Who knows? And we have to just love ourselves and be gentle to ourselves. And COVID
yeah.
was super stressful. And if you ate a lot of ice cream, my indulgent food during COVID was tuna casserole, which is so
Oh
gross.
my god, that's
I
hilarious.
would make these crazy tuna casseroles with like tons of cheese. Just-
Oh my god, that is, like, comfort food.
that was really gross. My kids were
That's
horrified.
funny. Yeah, I'm much more of an ice cream indulgence kind of a person.
Mm, yeah.
Um, but yeah, so you also talk a lot in the book about fashion, which I was very interested in, and, I'm totally with you on clogs.
Oh,
I,
love
love
clogs.
clogs.
I love clogs,
Yeah,
and I love the number 6 brand of clogs. They're so great. Super.
for so many years, I've been like, "Should I splurge on number 6 clogs?" And I still never have, but it might be
Well, you live in
time.
California. The real reason to get them is the winter boot. They have these shearling winter boots that are
Yeah,
amazing, and they're really like a uniform for a certain kind of woman in Brooklyn. So I don't know
yeah.
if you have to splurge living in California, but they're good in the East
Well,
Coast.
my reasoning is gonna be that it does get down into the 30s in the winter in Sonoma County,
Oh,
so
okay.
that's gonna be
Then
my
you could get
excuse
some
when
because they're super
yeah.
cute with like jeans and they roll over at the bottom. They last
Yeah,
forever. They'll last you for years.
yeah. Do they don't they have zipper or do they have zippers or
No,
they just roll
unless
over?
they have a new one that has zippers, no, they just like slide on and
Okay.
they're so comfortable and they're really fabulous. The black ones,
Well, as long as they're comfortable, I might need to
yeah,
splurge
no, they're
because 'cause
great.
they're so cute.
Yeah, I love clogs. I mean, my fashion thinking is pretty much the same as everything else, where I feel like it's like do what you feel good in. That whole idea of like, am I dressing too young or I mean, I don't know. There's certain things for me that I try and stay away from that are going to make me feel more like an older woman. Like I don't want to wear like big chunky jewelry, for example. Not that I think it's bad. Women should wear big chunky jewelry. It's just not for
Yeah.
me at this stage. I'm not there yet. I feel like that's going to age me in a way that I'm not ready for.
Well, it is like a trademark of women, that what's that blog, the guy who wrote the book about the more like 70s and 80-year-old women,
Uh,
oh, Advanced Style.
oh,
Do you know that blog? It's so cute.
oh
It's
yeah,
women
yeah.
who are
I do know it. It's
yeah,
great. Yeah,
and
they're fabulous looking.
But they always have chunky jewelry on, like,
Yeah.
over the top
Yeah, it's
chunky
like a
jewelry,
Hallmark.
so it does kind of put you in this, like, category, I think,
Although my
maybe,
joke with
yeah.
myself is that even 5 years ago, I said, "Oh, I wouldn't wear certain things that now I'm totally wearing." Like, even, like, colored reading glasses is also kind of a trope of the older woman, and
Yes.
I avoided them in the beginning, and now I think they're totally fun. I love
Yeah, I
Birkenstocks.
think
I mean, who wouldn't love
that
Birkenstocks? They're super comfy.
Oh, so you've come around on Birkenstocks.
Yes, I have.
Nice. Nice, 'cause I love Birkenstocks, and they do have sort of a place in the fashion world, like, I feel like fashion editors
Yeah.
sometimes embrace things that are, like, kind of ugly and make them fashionable.
I think so
You know what I
too.
mean?
I think
Yeah.
COVID for me was really I turned a corner on heels. I just don't think I'm ever gonna really
Mm,
wear heels again. I mean, sometimes I can wear like a 2-inch platform, but I'm never wearing 3 or 4-inch heels anymore. It's just I'm too
same.
worried about breaking an ankle. Like, how stupid would you feel if you broke your ankle wearing heels?
Well, I can tell you because I did that. And I felt really stupid. But, ironically, I was wearing, platforms, and I thought they were sort of
Yeah, I
safer,
would think it would
and
be
easier to
safe.
walk in,
How old were you
but
when
I
this
was in
happened?
Paris. Pardon?
How old were you when this
How old
happened?
how old was I? I think I was in my, I was actually in my 30s.
Oh, god, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, but I was in Paris, and it was, like, cobblestones and drinking and all of that. So, and I didn't know that I broke my ankle until about 10 years later. So I had 10 years to feel, like, a little bit less stupid. And then when and then when I got the X-ray, I got an X-ray for another reason, and the doctor was like, "Oh, you broke your ankle at some point in the past." And I was like, "Oh,
Oh, that's what I got
okay. I guess I
super
should have gone to the
excited.
hospital."
Oh god, awful. Yeah, I
So,
don't
but I
want that
still
to
have
happen.
problems with that ankle.
I've also stopped ice
Yeah.
skating. I used to be a real ice skater when I was younger, and I wasn't,
Oh,
like, great, but I was pretty good and could go really fast, and about 3 years ago, I kind of got scared on ice skates. I just feel like I'm gonna break a bone. I've never broken a bone, and I'm not, like, that much of a wimp, but I just feel like it's realistic at this age, like, our balance shifts and, we lose some of the fat in the bottom of our feet. Like, our feet are not as stable as
right.
they were, and yeah.
Yeah. So, do you have any other favorite clog brands? Because I'm curious, if you because I have a favorite one that I can recommend to you. I don't know if you've heard of it, but have you heard of Becklina?
How do you spell it?
Becklina, Beklina.
No, I'll have to look it up. Becklina. Okay, I'm on it.
The woman who designs those. I actually had her on the podcast, one of the first episodes.
Oh, I can't wait to look them
Um,
up. No, I love clogs. I always
yeah,
have. Clogs are
me
fantastic.
too. I always have too. And her styles are really cool looking, really cool colors, and really cool
Oh,
styles.
I can't wait to look
So
them up. I wanna do it right now.
I
I'll
recommend
wait.
them.
Okay, Becklina. Great.
Okay, how about Uggs? Are you still
No,
anti-Uggs?
I'm anti-UGG. I mean, again, God bless anyone who wants to wear them. I am so not judgy about fashion. It's just about what I don't wanna wear. My daughters still
Right.
really like UGGs, but no, I think they look awful. They're so, like,
Well, they're
slouchy.
so cut off. They're so, they couldn't be less flattering if they
Yeah,
tried the way they're cut off.
yeah, no, really unattractive in my mind.
Yeah.
Um, don't wear Uggs. What other things really don't I wear? I mean, obviously Crocs. I would not wear Crocs.
The kids are so into Crocs now, though. Do your, kids wear
My
Crocs?
kids don't. I don't know why. My kids are all in their 20s, but they never went through a Crocs phase, but they do wear Uggs.
Okay.
Um, I love fabulous sneakers. I'm, like, so grateful for the fabulous sneaker trend, like,
Yes.
for women our age, what could be better? I have many
Oh
pairs
my
of
god.
fabulous sneakers. There's a
Yes.
company called M Gemi, Gemi,
Oh, yeah.
and they make these really cute, like, velvet sneakers. I have a pair in navy blue that I
Oh.
love. Um, yeah, those are great. I mean, I do feel like as we get older, a little bit of a uniform, like having things that you just know work on you is a really
Yeah.
nice feeling. Like you find the right pair of jeans and you find a blouse that looks good and you kind of, um, I find that I wear a lot of the same things over and over again, like whatever I feel good in, basically.
Yeah, I do too. I'm so sad that I haven't been able to wear jeans. I think because I just refuse to buy new jeans.
Yeah,
So
I
they
understand
don't
that.
fit.
No, I
So I
understand
might
that. I go through phases where I don't wear jeans either. That's one of the best things about losing 5 pounds is you can wear jeans again.
Mm. Yes. Yes.
If you wanna go
Um,
if you wanna join Weight Watchers, we have a Monday afternoon group at 1:30 Eastern every week, and it's really helpful.
okay.
This woman, Caroline Petrick, runs it, and she's just a Weight Watchers fanatic. It's free,
Oh,
she's
wow.
really supportive, and so it's like instead of going to a real life meeting, you just go to this online meeting, and you she does want you to weigh yourself, and there's, like, accountability, but it's been helpful.
Oh, interesting. So I don't want to go. I'm maybe going on a tangent, but I I read this book called The Fuck It Diet.
Oh,
Have you heard of it?
no, does that mean just eat whatever you want and enjoy your life?
Pretty much, but
Nice.
somehow she wrote a whole book on it. Um, and it made me so it's very anti-diet. It's
Which
very
is
like,
good, we should be.
diet.
I agree with that philosophy, even though I'm on Weight Watchers right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, because like you said earlier, diets often don't work.
Yeah.
And, so why even start it? But obviously, we're all of two minds about it. But having read that book, I'm like, okay, do I want to go? I just don't. I feel like if I diet again, I will be sort of betraying my dedication to that outlook to
Mhm.
like not diet. So I have to think about it. But
So, I mean,
yeah,
how does it feel to you then you just I mean, just embrace where you are, you look totally beautiful. Why don't you just buy new clothes and
I
revel?
know. I might just have to do that because mentally and emotionally, I feel much better. Like I've really let it go.
That's great.
I mean, much more than I ever have. I haven't let it go completely by any means, but I feel um, like I don't beat myself up as
Yeah,
much.
I mean, should
And
be.
I don't think about food as much. I don't worry about food as much and all of that.
Yeah.
So that's really been helpful after reading it. But at the same time, I want to wear my clothes. So we'll see.
Yeah, I know, it's the age-old conundrum. I would just really
It
say be gentle on yourself. Like,
Yeah.
this has been actually fun for me this summer doing it. Usually dieting is
Oh,
not like I
cool.
feel health I'm eating lots of fruits and vegetables. Like I really am enjoying it. I don't feel like I'm being crazy or have an eating disorder. I feel like I'm getting a little healthier and it's all good. And that's just a phase. And in 6 months, if I don't feel that way and want to drink more and eat cheese, then that's fine too.
Yeah. That sounds really healthy emotionally and physically. I mean, I think the reason why I ended up reading the Fuck It Diet and seeking it out is because I was doing keto before
Mm,
that, and it's so restrictive and it was so miserable
ugh.
that I just kind of went in the opposite direction,
Yeah,
and that's where I'm at now.
punishing yourself is never good. And also at
No.
this point in life, like, how many years do we have left? Like, why do that to yourself?
Why?
Why?
I
It
know.
just doesn't
No,
make any
you're so
sense.
right.
Who is it serving?
You're
You
so
know,
right.
no one. And one of
Yes.
the things I think that's a really good lesson as we get older is to realize that no one else really cares. Like,
No.
okay, maybe your mother-in-law cares for 2 seconds, but
Yeah.
really, no one cares. Like what size you are. No one thinks about it. You know,
That is such a lesson of getting older in so many
it
regards, like,
really is.
not just weight, just, like, just walking into a room, like, walking into an event, a party, or anything, and realizing that, like, no one really gives a shit, like,
No, everyone's
just
wrapped up.
enjoy yourself.
Totally. Everyone is so wrapped up in their own stuff. And it's actually the way I think about it more and more as I get older is this idea of like really just staying in my lane. Like even with my kids, like it's all about boundaries and not like let everyone do their own thing. Focus on your own thing. Be a
Yes,
good person, have integrity, do the right thing, but you don't need to get involved in everyone else's stuff and they're
that
not
is so
thinking about
true.
you, it's just healthier. Yeah, it's
I
good.
agree, yeah. I, just well, I as I mentioned, we just moved. I have a 9-year-old, so
Oh,
I started
nice.
having kids late in life,
Where did you move
and,
from, by the way? Were you in California before?
I was near San Francisco and Pacifica,
Oh,
which is a little beach town right by San Francisco,
yeah.
yeah, so this is a new environment. It's cool, it's, sort of, rural-ish. Even though it's a little city, it's kinda rural and lots of wineries, and it's cool, we like it so far. But my daughter started a new school, and I've been thinking a lot about, so in my previous life, I was like kind of really involved. I don't know. Sometimes it got a bit gossipy with the other moms and, that whole thing. And I made a decision that I am not going to get into that at this
That's
new school. Like, I'm worried about my child
mhm.
getting a good education. I have to make boundaries because I'm trying to do my own stuff. I'm trying to continue to have my career, and I don't have time for all that other BS. So
And
that has
you wanna make friends. You know, it's interesting,
yeah.
Kristen, that you have a 9-year-old. My theory about this, I think I might have written about this in the book also, is that, we often, when our kids are little, have lots of friends who are related to the kids' friends, parents, blah, blah, blah. By the time your kid is around 12, that starts to change. They get more
Mm,
independent, and a lot of those friendships, I mean, you moved, so you accelerated it, but a lot of those friendships end up falling away. And it's, again,
mm,
very liberating. Like, once your kid is in kind of middle to high school, you start I think I see this with a lot of women. You start thinking more about, who do I actually really want to spend time with? Like, who do I want to be my
yes.
friends? And you can let go of that whole mommy. God, remember those years of drop off and mommy cliques and being invited to mommy drinks.
Oh
Not
my
that it was all
god.
bad, but a lot of
Yeah.
it is kind of forced and competitive, and there's a lot of insecurity and a
Yes.
lot of people, comparing their child rearing practices to yours, and it's just
Oh, totally.
awful. Yeah.
It really is awful, and it turns out to be sort of just not worth your time
It's
in
just
the
not worth
end.
your time. I do think it's
Yeah.
something that we all go through. It's almost like a rite of passage, but
Yeah.
you're right to be kind of saying, "Well, I'm gonna let that go. I'm gonna think about who I actually wanna be friends with."
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's where I'm trying to do it's only the 2nd day of school, so but so far so good.
Good for you.
Um, so another thing you talk about a lot in the book is, sex,
Mhm.
which is a chapter I am very interested in, and so one thing that stood out to me that I just wanted to I don't know if I'm the only one, but this term
Bedoing.
bedoing?
Oh my god, it's been
I have never heard that before.
is this in the section? I wrote this book like 6 years ago, but is this in the section where we talk about,
Sorry.
no, no, it's fine. Lubricant?
I Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
lube is a big issue.
Yeah, and to me, lube is just for I thought was just for when you have sex, but this whole concept is like to kind of like maintenance.
Oh, yeah.
It's more
So,
like
I don't know if it's too personal. I ask you if you still get your period, but for listeners,
no, I don't.
okay, so
I don't. Yeah.
one of the things I've learned running the Woolfer that I did not know when I started, like, I was at the beginning of perimenopause, but I didn't really know a lot about what that meant. Like, I was having insomnia. So it turns out that vaginal dryness is a very common, almost ubiquitous symptom of menopause and getting older. And you can totally deal with it, but you have to be able to talk about it and actually deal with it. And a lot of women just get too embarrassed and think
Yeah.
something wrong, or they don't want to pay attention to down there, and it's really important. It's like, I'm a big fan of coconut oil, for example. I use coconut oil at least twice a day. I put it up in my vagina to kind of lubricate things, and you have to use lube during sex, and you have to use a lot of it as
Just
you get
have to.
older, like use it regularly.
Yeah.
And some women get such, I mean, it's technically called vaginal atrophy. It just means when the skin in your vagina starts to get older. It's a terrible word, vaginal atrophy.
Yeah.
But it's completely normal and it happens to everyone. And for women who, for women who have no particular breast cancer risk, HRT, hormone replacement therapy, is something that often really helps with it. I'm now on HRT, even though my mom died of breast cancer. A lot of the
Oh,
current
wow.
studies on HRT say that it really is safe for a period until
Yes.
later. But there's
Yes.
also topical estrogen. There's something called the E string. There's stuff called Estrace, Vagifem. There are all these topical estrogen treatments that you can use to
Mhm.
increase lubrication, vaginal lubrication, that supposedly don't go through the bloodstream, so they're completely healthy. Um, it's really kind of essential, and it's something that people do not talk about. And I'd say for most women by age 49 or 50, like, you need to be thinking about it. Like, it's not something you want
Yes.
to ignore, because it really, women have painful sex. There are women who ignore it for years and years, and then, like, literally say they can't have penetration. Like, that's bad. You don't want that.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So that was interesting. So so let's also I want to talk more about Revel and your role
Sure.
in Revel,
Yeah.
just to kind of go back to that. Since that's a little bit more current. I know you wrote the book 6 years ago, but
No,
I
no,
just
it's
discovered
okay.
it and I was so
I'm so glad you read
excited
it.
about it.
No, no, and I love it. Maybe it was 5 years ago, but no, I'm thrilled you read it, and I want other people to read it. I do hope it's helpful. Um,
Yeah, I think it is very much so. Yeah.
Thank
And it's
you.
fun. It's like hilarious and very just frank and not, there's no, feeling of embarrassment about any of these topics, which there shouldn't be.
Yeah,
So
I mean, for
I,
listeners,
I thought it was very refreshing.
thank you. Yeah, the book is really
Yeah.
just basically the way I did it is I looked at all the subjects we were talking about in the community. So kind of sex, career, parenting, empty nest, health, um, and just talk about kind of I talk about what I know about them. I did various research. I talked to lots of doctors, and then I talked about things like, there's a section in the sex chapter on anal sex. So, for example, it's like I really tried to kind of go everywhere on everything that
Yeah.
women in our 40s and 50s and 60s are thinking about. And I hope and it is kind of funny. I mean, if you can't laugh at some of this stuff, you'll get really depressed. So
You'll cry.
you'll
Yeah,
cry.
for sure.
So Revel, yes.
Yeah.
So I'm very
Yeah.
excited. My job as chief creative officer, I'm in charge of content. So newsletter, podcast, the blog, articles, and programming. So all of our what we call Revel HQ events. So we have authors come and talk to members. We have doctors come and talk. We interview just like any like really interesting women. I have a woman named Christine Platt coming on in a couple of weeks who has a popular Instagram called the Afro Minimalist. She's this Black woman who's really into minimalism in her 50s. So basically, anyone who
Cool.
we find interesting, who we think the community will find interesting. Um, and so we do events like right now I'm about to schedule an event on body positivity and acceptance that I think will be really good, kind of sexual, because one of the issues, as we talked about with gaining weight and sex as we get into our 50s, is how do we get comfortable with our new body shape. Or we'll have events on finance or travel. So content, programming, and then also partnerships. So when we partner with someone like we partner with Elevest, for example, which is a company that does investing for women,
Yeah.
or Taboo, which is a really cool wellness device. It's kind of a vibrator, but also a vaginal health device. So
Oh,
we'll partner with
yeah.
interesting people who we think our community needs to know about, but only genuinely partners we really believe in. So it's good.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
And are the events, will they take place, all over the country, or what will be the
All
locations?
over the country. So the community is actually international. You can go on there and meet women from Australia and from England. Not as international as we'd like. We're definitely growing everywhere. Revel, as I said, started on the West Coast and we started on the East Coast. So the largest concentration of our members are kind of East Coast, West Coast. Although with the introduction of the Woolfer community, we're really all over the country. So we have members in Chicago and El Paso and Virginia and Florida. The events, when you go on to create an event, the idea behind the platform is that it should be mostly member generated events. It's around 80% member generated events and 20% kind
Oh.
of Revel HQ. So you could go on there, for example, and you can say, I want to have I want to go out for coffee with four friends to talk about knitting, or I want to go to I don't know, it just popped into my head is Jethro Tull. Does Jethro Tull still exist? I want to go to a concert with people, or I want to have a Zoom call to talk about difficulty orgasming. You can really create any event you want. I want to have a Zoom call to talk about matchbook cars, like whatever you want. You go onto the platform, you create a profile. The tech is excellent. It's really easy to create an event. And when you create an event, you can say, I want it to be in real life or I want it to be virtual. If it's virtual, we have Zoom embedded into our platform. So if it's virtual, it's really cool. You name the event, you describe it, you set the maximum number of attendees. You can say, I want no more than 10 people or no more than 100. You set the the date, the time. You upload a picture and then you hit submit for approval. And then it gets approved within 24 hours and it gets broadcast out to all of our members. People sign up.
Oh.
And then everyone just gets a Zoom link, you included as the host. So it's very easy. It takes care of all your RSVPs. And same with in-person events. You say, I want to meet at the Hollywood Bowl at 7 o'clock on Saturday night. And it will just tell everyone where to be and it'll keep track and it'll let you know if people cancel and all the rest. It's really excellent.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
I would love to do that. I would love to have an
Yeah,
event
you should
through
totally
that. That is
join. And you're in
so cool.
California, there'll be tons of members. I mean, one of the things we're dealing with now, and we're free right now to all new people who sign up, and we're actually free for life to all new people who sign up. At some point, we'll go back to a
Wow.
subscription model, so it'll be some sort of freemium model ultimately. But right now, we just want to populate more in
Mhm.
various areas around the country, so that if you're in Atlanta and you create an event, you'll get other people. You'll be easy in California, right? We have lots of people in California. So it's a
Mhm.
great way to make friends. It's a great way to kind of showcase your expertise. Like if you're really good at, I don't know, if you collect Pyrex and are really into it, you could have like a Pyrex event where you guys talk about collecting Pyrex. Or if you're an art historian who specializes in, a particular era, and you want to have a conversation about that, you can do a lecture, or you can do like a group discussion. So it's a great way to find other people who share your interests, and also we're hoping, I think, one of the founders was talking to me about Peloton. And you know how Peloton has, like, it's a great way to also allow people to grow their own platforms. Like, if you have a
Yeah,
big
it sounds like it.
personality and you want to have a lot of events, we're here to help you kind of grow your own community.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
And is it all women?
It's all women, and you have to be
Okay.
over 40. So
You
you,
have to be over
you have
40.
to
Okay.
identify as a woman and be over 40.
Okay. That's so cool. And so if it's an in-person event, how would that work? I imagine the person organizing the event has to do all the legwork as far as like location and stuff like that.
Yeah, so we don't allow people to charge for events. If it's a situation
Okay.
where like you're going to the theater and you've bought the tickets in advance, you can say the tickets are $50 and you'll pay me back when you show up. But we don't allow people to do like, it's $25 per person to come to my event. Um,
Mhm.
so no money changes hands. We don't want the site to become like an MLM place where people are selling services. So if you're having an in real life event, for example, I helped a woman yesterday, a really lovely woman in West Hollywood, who turns out she used to be a child star. She was charming. And
Oh,
she said
wow.
before COVID, she had a very busy life going to premieres and doing some freelance writing and going to a lot of theater. And since COVID, she's been housebound and has gotten kind of depressed. And she was like, so I want to find four like minded women to meet at the cafe down the street from my house once a week to talk about kind of how we're managing during COVID. And she really had a lot of charm, this woman, and I helped her build it. And I said, in your description, you'll say what you're looking for, and that will attract like minded people. And so she made it small. She didn't want more than four people. She gave the address of a cafe. She wrote up a nice description. And in that case, everyone will come and they'll just, buy their own coffee or whatever. If you're having a larger in real life event, yeah, you have to take it upon yourself to figure out how you want to host. Oh, one feature we have that's great is you can have co hosts. So you could get your friends to all join Revel, and then three or four of you could co-host an event, and then share the expenses or whatever.
Cool.
Yeah,
That's really cool. I
yeah,
love that.
yeah.
And I think it's so important it's such a good service for women over 40 also because sometimes you start especially after COVID, I just feel a bit lonely,
Yeah, I think people
like
are feeling lonely. Also, we're building, so the Woolfer, we always had events, but we were initially really a community, like a Facebook group. Obviously we were a Facebook group to start. So Revel is actually building the ability now for us to create communities where we can chat with each other also. So
oh,
really
cool.
the model is essentially like a meetup meets Facebook for women over 40.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think, someone asked me yesterday on a call, well, how is it different from Facebook? And I was like, well, it won't have ads and it won't be run by Zuckerberg and we won't sell your personal information. But otherwise, it'll be pretty similar, um,
Yeah.
but just for kind of like minded women of a certain age. And yeah, I think women really thrive on community. And it is harder to make friends as you get older once you get out of that school age children, phase. And you do
Yeah.
want to find people who, who you can really connect with in a deeper way.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I've been thinking about. I'm like, well, if I'm not gonna like go out of my way to make friends at my daughter's school, like how am I gonna make friends in this new town?
Yeah.
So it's something I need to think about. So I'll definitely be. I don't think I'm a member yet. I mean, it's been on my radar, but I
So
need to.
definitely sign up. It's called hellorevel.com. So hello, Revel.com. And again, it's free for right now. And I don't think it'll be free for that much longer. So it's definitely a
Okay,
good time
so
to
get in now.
get in now.
Yeah.
and just create a profile. It's super easy. You upload a photo, um, you'll get emails. The site has algorithmic capability, which is great. It sounds like it could be creepy, but it's not creepy. It means that, as you use it, the site will get to know your tastes and will direct
Mhm.
things to you that we think will be interesting, either related to your zip code and your region, or what, tastes you've expressed, what things you like to do, what you're interested in. So yeah, we're really very excited about it.
That is really cool. And is the Woolfer gonna sort of seamlessly merge with Revel, or is there it's gonna be all one brand?
The brand is definitely Revel, and Hello Revel is the name of the website and our social media. The Woolfer will exist as a brand. I think still the Woolfer women take it very seriously. They really feel very identified. So we don't want them to have to lose that. So we will have a group on the platform. There'll be a private Wolfer group, kind of like our existing app or like we are on Facebook, where women can talk to each other. And not that other people can't join. People have always been able to join the Wolfer, but people will see when they join the Wolfer community probably that we have a certain sensibility. We value candor and we kind of talk about sex a lot and we're pretty funny.
Mhm.
So some women will feel like that's the right space for them, and some women won't. Um, and certain events will still be like hashtag Wolfer, like we have a Wolfer book club, and
Oh,
so
cool.
yeah, I think the Wolfer brand will continue in some way. Um,
Mhm.
who knows if it'll be forever, but certainly for now.
Got it. Okay. So I find it very interesting that two women who are the founders in their 30s,
Yeah,
did you
they're
say?
34, I think.
Like, how interesting is it that they saw so much value in the community of women our age that they built a business around it? I think that's like a huge statement as to like,
I
you
agree.
know,
Yeah, it's pretty
where
outstanding.
this is all going.
Yeah, I mean, I think there were a couple
And
things. Lisa Maroney, one of the founders, was raised by a strong single mother who had a bunch of sisters,
mm,
and I think she grew up looking at that kind of these were the women who ruled her universe. But then also after Harvard Business School, she worked. She was the first female VC in a VC fund, and she felt like all the pitches that were coming in were for products for millennials and teenagers, and she just really
yeah.
noticed the absence. And she said, "Why is no one doing anything for that demographic?" And then her co-partner Alexa War was in healthcare and was also interested in kind of the same demographic, and so they came together, and I'm so glad they did.
That is so cool. And the fact that they were able to secure VC money for this
Yeah,
idea
I mean,
is really
it
interesting.
is really interesting, and I think it's an interesting statement that women my age who are doing stuff in this space are having a hard time being financially successful, right? Like I knew I had to find a partner or get bought or get funding, and it would have been hard for me to get VC funding. Whereas I don't think it was that hard for Lisa and Alexa because they're young and they went to Harvard Business School and they knew how to do it. So the fact that we
Wow.
come together to grow the business makes a lot of sense. They have things I need, I have things they need. It's a good pairing.
Yeah, I'm grateful for them. I would like to interview them too, actually.
Yeah, yeah, they're
That'd be
terrific.
great.
We'd love you to interview them. Yeah, they're
That'd
really
be great.
terrific. Um, and very, very smart. And it's such a relief to have people who are handling the tech side of things. And so well, we have a female
Yeah.
led engineering team, which is super awesome. And yeah, it's great.
Oh, that is great. That is great. Is it an all female
No, there are
staff?
two male employees, both in
Okay.
engineering.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
How many employees are there?
12 or 13, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was that big. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Great. So I end the interview with the same question. So I think I'm gonna ask you this question.
Okay.
Um, what to you is the best thing about getting older? And we might have already covered it, but best thing about getting older.
Yeah, to me, it's just how happy I am. Honestly, I was not that happy when I was younger, by a long shot. I was still dealing with childhood issues and pain, and I had a bad marriage, and I had anxiety, and I don't know. I am so much happier than I ever imagined I could be, and it's such a gift. And so I think all the hard work kind of pays off, and I feel like I have a lot of wisdom, and I feel grateful all the time, and I feel grateful to be healthy, to be here for my kids who are in their 20s. So, and I'm curious, like, what's going to happen in the next decade, like where's this going? But yeah, I mostly feel just very appreciative to have gotten to this point.
I feel the same way. I feel grateful that I've lived long enough to get to this point. Like
Mhm.
I feel just grateful. And I think that what you said is very important for younger people to hear who might be struggling with,
Yeah,
depression or anxiety, to know that
it
it
gets
can get better. I
better.
know when you're in it, sometimes it's hard to
I know. I mean, when I was
know
young,
that.
my mom had died. I mean, I was really a wreck in my 20s and 30s. And people often say, what advice would you give your 25-year-old self? And my response is usually, well, it's a couple things. One, it really is going to be okay. Like, you have to keep kind of working at it. And I tell my girls that when they're like, it's nothing is as bad as you think it is right now. Like, you have to take a deep breath. Um, and I also tell
Yeah.
young women always, if they can, to have their own money, to
Oh
really
my god, yeah.
not end up, to keep track of your finances and to know what you have and to not be dependent on a man if you can. And I think that's super important. Work for yourself if you can. I mean, not everyone can do those things, but um, I think they help. And then so many of the other things we talked about, right? Don't think it's all about you. It's not about you.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and, just regarding the money issue, there's a whole chapter in your book about that I haven't read the entire chapter, but it was very, I thought it was a really important chapter in
Yeah,
there
I
about, like,
think
divorce and having your own money, finances, being
yeah,
aware of what's
prenups,
going
like all
on.
that stuff. It is really important. It's not something any of us can afford to ignore and kind of put our head in the sand about. And and there's the reality: women live longer. Women end up in poverty in higher numbers than men. Like, it's important to think about how we deal with stuff like credit and savings and our financial independence. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Nina, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate you taking the time, and I'm so excited about your new role at Revel. We're gonna be following along.
Thank you. I so
So
love
thanks so
meeting
much.
you. I wish we were
Me
closer. We
too.
we could be friends. But
I
we'll
know. I would
definitely
love
stay in
that.
touch, and you should definitely go on Revel and email me
I
if you
will.
need anything.
I will, and if you're ever out here in Sonoma, please look me
I
up.
will.
We can do a wine tour.
Okay, that sounds fun.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well,
All
take
right.
care.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Take
Bye
care.
bye.